These are going to be for those of you who are looking for a drop style step and want something that looks a little bit more finished and a little bit more substantial than the other N-Fab wheel-to-wheel steps. Of course, N-Fab does offer other steps. They're not going to be as filled in this area here. They're not going to be as substantial. Today we're going to talk through the installation of this step, which is going to be a very simple 1 out of 3 wrench installation. This is designed to bolt directly onto your JK without the need to do any sort of major modification or drilling. So again, very easy install that can be done in about an hour, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. Now, a drop step like this is not going to be great for off-roading. Of course, you have this big step hanging down that's going to get hung up on obstacles off-road, on rocks. You're going to get it torn up, you're going to cause some damage. This is not going to be protection, and in fact it is going to be a little bit of a drawback if you're somebody who wheels. However, if you're somebody who just takes your Jeep on some light fire trails, you don't need a ton of clearance, or your Jeep stays on the road and you want a very useful step, that's where this comes in. This is going to be a very usable step because of how it hangs down and gives you a really nice pocket to put your foot into. It also has these holes drilled into it to give you a little bit of additional traction when you're stepping on the step. And overall, this is going to be a very, very useful step. Along with that, instead of just a hoop, you are still getting this bar that goes all the way across that's going to help to cover the pinch seam and give your Jeep a little bit more of a finished off look. It is going to be a very useful step, and if you like the look of this, I think it's going to be a pretty well-built option. This is going to be a steel step, so of course you have your main steel tube here across the top with brackets coming off of it to mount the whole step onto your pinch seam and the underside of your tub, which is the way a lot of steps are going to mount. You're going to get a nice solid, strong mounting surface by mounting it in that way. Now, this is going to be a black powder coat finish on this whole step, which should hold up pretty well. It looks pretty good. Now, while this tube here does return into the Jeep on the ends, which does give things a finished off look, this is open on both sides. So again, if you're somebody who's in an area where there's a lot of salt, or you take your Jeep off-road, there's a chance that you might get some mud and some junk in there. Having it open does allow you to hose it off, but if it was closed off, then nothing would be able to get in there in the first place. A couple of different mindsets on that, but it is something to note. Some companies will give you either plastic cap or even have that welded shut. With this step, it is going to be wide open. And then of course, aside from this bar, you actually have this step itself. And this is going to be more of an integrated, smooth, finished off looking step than some of the other drop steps that are out there. And of course, they do have their N-Fab sticker across the front here. Not my favorite thing to see. You might like it, you might dislike it. It is just a sticker. You could always peel it off if you chose to. Overall, I would say that this is a pretty well-built step. I do like the quality of the coating that's on it, and it does give you a little bit of a different look than some of the other drop steps that are out there. So to get this installed on your Jeep, all you'll need to do is remove any existing step or any existing rocker armor that you might have on your Jeep. You're going to go ahead and hold this up to its location on the Jeep and use the included hardware to bolt the brackets through the pinch seam and through the bottom of the Jeep. It will help if you have an extra set of hands around or just a tall jack stand that you can set this on while you're getting a couple of the first nuts and bolts lined up. Once you have everything in loosely, go ahead and make sure that the step is nice and level and torque it down. Again, the whole process shouldn't take you more than an hour to complete. This is going to be an easy bolt-on install that anybody can do in their driveway. These steps do come in at around $550, which is going to be a little bit more than some of the other steps on the market. However, for a drop step that is really finished off like this one is, gives you that clean, smooth look, helps to cover the pinch seam, it is a very well-built step. Whether it's worth $550 for a step is completely up to you, but the quality is there, and this is going to give you a different look than a lot of the other companies out there. So that's my review of the N-Fab Wheel-to-Wheel N-Durastep fitting your 2007 and up JK that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.